Flanking is a key element to success in most FPS games. Some games rely on it heavily or even have characters or abilities that are designed specifically for flanking. The ability to catch your enemy off guard or distract them can be invaluable for your team. However, in Destiny, this is not necessarily the case. Flanking can still be good, however, a lot of times it is actually not very useful or can even be a detriment to your team as a whole. Now, you may ask why this is. Well, there are a few reasons, but the main one is Destiny's signature radar. The radar in this game is the biggest counter to flanking because better players will always know you are coming. They will always be able to anticipate your flank. So today we are going to talk about when you should flank because like I mentioned, even though it is not nearly as strong of a tactic as it may be in other games, it still has its uses and can definitely win games for you and your team. So when should you flank? Well, the absolute best time to flank is when the other team is already in a fight. Like I said, the radar is your biggest counter, but if the other team is in a fight, think about it. They're going to be aimed down sights shooting at your team. They will not have a radar when they are aimed down their sights. This can allow you to get the jump on them and either shoot them from an off angle that they're not expecting, or sometimes you can just push them up close with like a shotgun or a fusion or something and catch them off guard because they're not going to know you're coming. They will be aimed down sights. They will not have a radar. I cannot stress how important this is to master as a player. It's not really that difficult to do, really. You just need to have the patience and the situational awareness to realize that the other team likely has no radar while they are actively fighting. Like I said, this is the best time, but there are still other situations that you can get away with a flank. If the enemy is very low health, for example, maybe you or your teammate threw a very good grenade, got some damage, some tags, sort of collapsing on them from a flank can be devastating as you likely will get a few cleanup kills and it'll be very difficult for the enemy to deal with you, even if they do know that you are coming from their radar. Another way to flank can be from very far angles. Some maps in this game are huge, and while you can't really flank anyone in the traditional sense without showing up on the radar, you can get very long angles on some maps while remaining outside of the radar range. In general, what I like to do is that I know that if they are on my radar, I am likely on their radar. So if I'm trying to get an off angle and I don't want to be seen, I try to make sure that I don't get any pings on my radar as I'm moving around the map. Now, I've mostly talked about flanking as sort of requiring the element of surprise to work, but that's not necessarily the case. I know some people argue that it doesn't matter if they know I'm coming, it's okay, I got this, but no, a good team will turn and absolutely destroy you if they realize you're flanking alone in a lot of cases. A lot of the good teams will do this. They'll see one radar ping or they'll see two on the other side and they'll know that you're by yourself and they'll just call it out and they will just turn and they'll either just push you or deal with you in some manner. So against good teams, you have to be really careful with your flanks. You need to make sure that if you're not going to sort of try to catch them off guard, if they're going to know you're coming, you need to be positioned so that your team can still help you and that you're not just completely isolated. One way to do this is if you can flank very quickly, it can still work. Maybe something like a Strand Hunter that can grapple in or out, or a Solar Warlock that can Icarus dash around. Something to sort of just be super quick with your flank. Or maybe if you want to peek on an off angle on the flank with a sniper very quickly, maybe try to get one, fire a shot, and then retreat back to your team. Things like that can still work. You just need to try to be quick and effective with it before you can get called out and then singled out by the other team. And then finally, there are two subclasses I want to point out that I think can especially excel at flanking, sort of unlike any of the other classes. The first is the Night Stalker subclass, the Void Hunter. Going invis or throwing smokes definitely messes with the enemy's radar, and you can absolutely flank teams and catch them off guard, especially if you just walk while you're invis instead of sprinting. Walking around keeps you off the radar longer, and even though it might seem kind of, I don't know what the term would be, I guess bot-like, just walking around, it really is pretty strong. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen some very good players just get walked up on by someone who's invis and either just chaperoned or fusion, something like that. It is very hard to deal with because most people who play this game, especially the better players, are very used to using the radar to determine where people are, and that's what you should do. You really should rely on your radar, but when someone is invis and then there are smoke bombs on the floor pinging your radar, it is very hard to keep track of these players. So if you like flanking, I think that the Night Stalker subclass is definitely your best choice. I did say there were two subclasses I like for this, and the other one I think is Solar Warlock, the Dawn Blade. Basically, this class is just so fast and mobile, making for an excellent flanking subclass. But Dawn Blade is also special in the fact that it can challenge angles from the air that no other class can. Heat Rises is very strong once you consume your grenade. And you don't even always have to consume it. You can still shoot down at people from up in the air just by jumping, but I would make sure you're in close range because the AE changes definitely nerf this, but you still can make it work. I do think it is harder to learn than Night Stalker, but it is still an excellent choice because, like I said, you can peek from up in the air at these other angles that no other class can, so people don't really expect it. And you can also get in and out very quickly for repositioning if you need to with the Icarus Dash. So those are my thoughts on flanking in Destiny 2. If you like this type of video or found it helpful, definitely let me know in the comments. I really appreciate it. But as always, I am awake and I'll see you guys next time.